We're back. Can you have a 1 minute question?
1 minute question. Engineering and Public Works, the $51,000 over in summer road maintenance?
It's one of the purchase orders that we're looking to close out. You see that $67,000 has been encumbered, so we're working on trying to close most of that out.
Okay.
And my question is, I noticed that equipment repairs under engineering and public works is way up. What's, driving the repairs?
Same answer, the $73,000 purchase order at this point. So we're hoping to cancel most of those out.
The encumbrance.
I had a question on Kerma. Did we not get an equity distribution this year? Did we have to send some money to them? Because it's showing as a...
We did receive money there.
Okay.
What page are you on?
I'm sorry, page...
It's
3?
106.
Yeah. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. It's plus.
Right, we received,
so it's 54 over.
Right, we received 54,000. We only budgeted 10.
So I am reading it wrong.
So
yeah.
Great.
I was nervous there for a second.
Nice distribution.
Yeah, that's great.
Others?
Warrants.
Okay, move on to warrants. There you go. Ken?
One question on the weekly warrants. Just to explain this, it involves the Teamsters pension, first page on the general warrants. What is withdrawal agreement? What does that category mean? It's like $15,000 appropriated twice.
Good.
I'm not 100% familiar with it, but I do know that when we moved, we changed the pensions with the Teamsters. There was an agreement that the town had to cover a certain amount of past pension benefits, and so we have an agreement with them to pay this amount.
Right. It was the amount to move from the town of Guilford's pension over to, and we scheduled that out over 15 years, I think it was. It was a buyout of their Guilford sponsored pension.
Correct. Right.
Others?
So on the warrants now?
Yeah.
So I have one quick question. The Long Hill Road project, which I believe the estimate, is now up to $4 million, of which 80% is federal, 10% is state, and 10% is us. That leaves us with $400,000. On this warrant, I mean, I might be looking at this incorrectly, but I know this isn't the first time I've seen Long Hill Road project on the warrant sheet in the past few months.
No,
You will see one every month. We have right.
So is this money that we're putting out and we're getting back then?
Correct. We have an agreement with the contractor and the state to pay out and receive revenue on a monthly basis. So we put out the money, and at the same time we're requesting that reimbursement. There is a lag for that, but the state has requested that we do that on a monthly basis. So you will see that, you will see a payment to them every month.
So how does this board actually know that this $393,000 that just went out this month is coming back in? Where do we ever see that? We don't.
No. Not on the reports that you receive, no.
So
Would this have shown up on the capital reports project?
On the capital reports, wouldn't it?
Would have been on the capital reports. So it might be time to revise those, and even if it's on every month, every other.
I'd just like to, because like I say, we've seen this a lot before. So I'd like somebody to at least be
Right, because you're
showing us a sheet saying what went out on your warrant report and what we've gotten back in, and when. I believe we've already fulfilled our 10% obligation, but I'm not sure of that. So.
right, because you see all the expenses in the warrant for all of the special programs, but there isn't another sheet for the revenues.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, if you could share that
Sure.
with us, that'd be great.
So on the weekly warrants, second page, toward the bottom, there's a legal item. There's a reference for Sherwood. I mean, this is great. Sherwood Forest. What is that exactly? It's just fabulous.
Little John?
Yeah. Is it like green hats?
Repays Robin Hood.
I'm not exactly sure.
Oh, there it is. Here, second page.
I mean, I'm just thinking somebody at LeClaire Ryan is like, was enjoying that billing entry.
It's the weekly warrant. It's not.
I am sort of curious. It's got to reference some sort of project of some sort.
Actually, there's a data center in New York called Sherwood Forest.
Okay.
I believe me, there is.
So
I'm not sure.
But
I
that's
would
not,
have to check
yeah,
into that.
that'd
be great.
Nice catch, though.
Costumes.
Thank you.
The Robin Hood theory, okay. Anything else? Any other warrants? Any more? No? Medical benefits, tough month for our employees, obviously. But,
Is that sort of a highly, sort of an opportunity for some elective procedures?
June is a tough month to do that in because school,
Yeah, even though it went out early, maybe. Yeah, maybe July would have been better. It'll be interesting to see if July is equally high.
Yeah, and again, I'll say it again, we're not sure how the implementation of the HSA has affected things. I know, having had an HSA in the past myself, that, you know, if I fulfilled my commitment of my deductible by May, then I'm going to get in everything I can in June, even if it's every prescription I may never need. So, and I don't know if that's the case, but, you know, we've seen that number kind of inch up over the last couple of months, and that could be now the town putting out over and above deductibles. I'm not saying that's exactly it, but we've kind of been expecting that to happen, and that quite possibly could be.
okay. We're still looking at a projected net fund balance of almost $2.5 million net of the IBNR, so.
Right, I just want to note that the IBNR is normally updated in August.
Yeah.
So, you know, by the September meeting, or unless I get it before your August meeting, we want to update that number so that we have, I mean, it might not fluctuate too much, but
Right.
it's hard to know, but hopefully we'll have an updated number at that point. I also want to note that you'll see, just in case you're wondering, under our I put it under administration, it's the affordable health care tax that we have to pay, and we pay it for, I think, 3 or 4 more years at the moment.
Where's that on here? I'm sorry.
If you see under expenditures, under June, I have affordable health care tax, I put it under admin. Right here.
Okay.
It's payable, I'll be paying that this month for next year as well. I already have that ready to go.
That's separate from
It's only
this Cadillac tax.
$2,500 for those watching. It's a very small.
$2,500.
Yeah, okay. That's, yeah, that was going to make a similar point. That's not the
Yeah.
Cadillac
Right.
It is not.
premium that would have to be paid. It's some
No.
administrative expense almost, it sounds like.
It's a fee that plan sponsors, like
Yeah.
ourselves, because we're self-insured, pay to fund the Patient-Centered Outcome Research Institute. It's based on the average number of lives covered under our policy or plans. So it's something,
So it's really a fee more than an insurance premium dollar.
it is.
But nonetheless associated
It's a
with it.
tax, actually.
Covers somebody's administrative expense somewhere.
Right.
But it is separate from our regular admin, so I wanted to show it separately.
Anything further? Building permits, comments?
Well, it was really low. I sort of wondered if, and I tried to decipher this a little bit from the detail. There were no permits for 5 or more unit residents. I would have thought, if nothing else, 66 High Street would have contributed to the bump in that number, but since that's a multifamily unit, is that one building permit versus the 7 that may have been sold?
I'm not sure how the building department reports that.
But that's
That number's
listed,
been static for quite a while now.
it strikes me as interesting. Because there is a separate line item for multifamily residences.
Right, it's probably-
But that's 0.
I
in
believe
the
it all
detail.
comes under one permit, I'm not sure. That'd be a question for the building department.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, you gotta, I mean, if you're gonna pull a permit, you're not gonna pull a
Right, 'cause
permit
it's the
for.
building.
Every unit you sell.
Right,
the-
it's gonna
the
be
building
each
itself.
building.
We are expecting more revenue, but only because they're got a second building, you know, or.
It'll show
it's a
up, it'll
second
show up
building,
in
but
town clerk as
Correct,
those closings take place.
correct, right.
But what's important to note, if you go back to your revenue summary, we're almost $50,000 above budget 15% above our forecasted budget, so.
They're making
it may
money
not-
somewhere.
Yeah, so your question is well-founded. Is that the right report to be looking at as a summary?
Right.
Look at the detail, right?
That's the point, when you look at that cover page, it's just gone down every single year.
Every year.
And this is the lowest
Terrible.
it's been since the sheet started in 1993. So.
Anything on golf course? This is
Yes.
this is the second to last time we'll see this report, most
Yes.
likely.
And then where's it
We'll
gonna
use the
go?
opportunity.
It's gonna be a line item in the budget.
Parks and Recs, or where?
It's its
Separate-
own line item in the
separate line
budget. It's its own department in the budget, just like Park and Rec, just like engineering, just like finance.
Am I missing something? It looks like it's getting a lot worse.
It is
It
getting
is.
a lot worse. Who can explain that?
We got to
Rise
play
in
more, that's
course
what the
maintenance.
problem is, we don't play.
No, you're not going to get any, this is what I'm saying, you're not going to get any more rounds pushed through the course. The fees either have to be raised or you have to cut the expenses, and that's what, we've been talking about this for years. I thought the $30,000 a year was fine, frankly, to generate, goodwill, and we have a lot of programs in town that cost money, but now it's $50,000 deeper than it was last time.
Last year, that's right.
And, we've embarked on the pro, and I saw a couple of things in there which I'm not going to bother going through it all now, but there were some concession expenses. My understanding was the relationship with the new pro was that he was taking over the pro shop and getting the benefits, so I actually thought our concession expense would go to basically zero, because that was part of the
his
deal, was
expense.
he was going to make money on the store and that sort of thing. But I didn't.
I think we invested some of our own funds in things such as coffee makers and equipment that belong to us, that do not belong to the pro, so should he leave, those things don't go with us. So I think there's a sharing there. I'm not exactly sure. A lot of the questions would have to go to the commission. I just would like to note that we did provide a large transfer. I guess that was fiscal year 16.
That was the $475,000.
Correct, which is covering the balance sheet deficit for them. When you take that into account, at the end of the year, they might be short. I'm estimating somewhere between 50 and 20,000. Now that July 1 has come and they are in our budget, I have met with the chairman of the Golf Commission and the manager of the golf course, as well as the pro. All three of them were in the room. They will have to follow all the guidelines that every other department has to follow. They will have to stay within their expenditures, or come in front of this board for some reason for that. So it's going to be a culture change for them, but I've tried to set the stage for that and continually communicate with them to make sure that they understand that it's a little different now for them than it has been in the past.
What's their budget for the new year?
Similar to what their budget is this year, which is yet another budget that I'm going to want this board to really look at, along with the selectmen. Clearly, as Ken has noted, they're not staying within that appropriation, and if that's going to continue, they're going to have to make a pitch to the selectmen and the Board of Finance for an additional funding each year and to up that appropriation. So you'll be able to direct that a little bit better, I believe, which is the reason we're bringing them into the general fund.
Right. Let's make it more, make it more
375
common.
really has nothing to do with the income statement that's here. The income statement, as Ken points out, it's on the 6 months, we're down 11% from 91 to 80 in revenue, and expenses are up by over 30,000. It went from 102 to 133, so the loss is 40 some odd $1,000 worse.
Well,
Absolutely.
I had some questions about it as well. Because I'm looking at some of the...
I have the same questions I have every month about it. It's
Well,
just
there's some
they're
different
worse.
ones, though. For some, I can't imagine this year, it feels like it's been it has not stopped raining, which has been great. My lawn looks better than ever. Their water use is up $5,000, which makes literally no sense to me. Now, I understand that $12,500 for the pro. In a sense, I'm prepared to see what that looks like next year. Not that we're going to have that expense, but is that going to have an impact on either other savings, which I would expect, or increased revenue somehow. Because otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. In the first year, maybe, you could make an argument, we're going to see what happens.
Right, we
But
were
then
able
there's
to
there's
cut one
There's a
part-time
miscellaneous
position.
item, which is always frustrating, but it's gone from $4,400 to $7,000. So there's $2,500 bump in a miscellaneous line item. It doesn't make any sense.
And we've, in the general fund, we've revamped the look of their budget, so we've taken their classifications and put them into ours, so that they mirror all the other departments. So I'm not sure if there's a miscellaneous in it. I
Listen, I've
can't
been a
tell
big
you.
supporter, but
Right.
it's got to make sense, or there's a lot of folks who are not going to be happy about it.
Well, virtually every single line item is up, right across the board. That's a bad sign.
Definitely a conversation with the commission would maybe be in order.
Yeah, I think from month to month, I don't remember exactly from last month, but I think we're still in catch-up on the revenues from earlier in the season. Just this, a couple months ago, when we had all that rain, no one was golfing.
Right,
And
we
being
got a
a
very
golfer, I
late
knew
start.
that.
Oh, we started a month later than we did the year before.
Right, so I can understand the
but-
revenues, but I think this board is right to say the expenses across the board on all of these seem to be up, and that's
I would recommend that if you
Concerning.
want to speak to the commission, the sooner the better, because we don't want to be here a year from now looking at their general fund budget. I'm doing what I can, meeting with them, trying to look at the expenses that they're bringing forth. Up until now, I didn't have much pull because they were somewhat autonomous. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more say moving forward, but it's a huge change for them. So, they need to.
Well, the real question, this is a question that Joe might have been able to answer. Much like the fire commission, the fire chief reports through to the commissioners. They set his salary, they do all that stuff. So we need to look at what the administrative reporting structure, has it changed? Because I don't believe the superintendent of the course is reporting through to the first selectman. I believe he reports to the golf course commission, and the commission then has to manage this budget. Unlike the Marina Commission, which, similar to the Marina Commission, but the Marina Commission does not hit our books.
Correct.
That's
And,
that's the difference.
Marina Commission has some interesting expenses
Right.
coming up. Dredging,
Every 5 years. Yeah, that's pretty regular.
big number.
Yeah, well, it always is.
We're
And
trying
they've got
to
a reserve.
recoup-
How's their reserve account?
We're trying to recoup the FEMA money too. That
How much is in that reserve account?
I don't know off the top of my head. I
But
don't
there's-
want to give a number.
Not enough.
Not nearly enough to
Not
cover
enough,
the
yeah.
dredging estimate. I
Yeah, I
think.
don't know. That's right. But we have gotten federal money in the past for dredging efforts, so.
Correct. There's an outstanding FEMA from the dredging that we're still working on. It was one of the projects outstanding on my desk, so we are working on that as well. Try to get that in.
Excellent. Okay. Anything else? We beat that to death? Good. Is there a motion to?
So are we adjourning? I wanted to make
No,
one point.
we have to approve the bills.
Oh, okay. I'm really jumping ahead.
Almost, yeah.
Please don't skip that part.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the bills for the town for the month of June, the amount of $2,308,676? It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstaining, recusals, motion passes.
Thank you.
I don't think there's any committee reports at this point. Old business or new
It's
business?
going to be all this. I just want to point out to people watching that this budget that's just ending, where we just heard that we're looking at close to $1 million surplus, and the Board of Ed is coming right in on budget.
Right.
This was the budget that was defeated at it took 3 referendums to clear, and a lot of people were concerned about goods and services and the effects it would have, and I haven't really heard a lot of complaining. Mid-year, we heard the Board of Ed was worried about some maintenance projects that they might not be able to get done, but
Right.
the reality is,
Well, I think the Board of Ed would have been
That's where-
in substantial trouble had it not been for the $300,000 that we transferred to their
From
account.
the
From the
ECG
ECA,
excess.
yeah.
Right.
So, but on the town side, again, revenues have exceeded. And again, we had this conversation a couple of months ago. Our tax collection rate, even though we had adjusted our tax collection rate back upward, it would appear as if we still have some room to do more of that over time. And we probably should remember that next spring. If we take a look historically, we're at 100% of, over 100% of, for current year's taxes. So we have the ability to move that dial again.
And it would sort of also submit that a certain amount of surplus, $300,000-$400,000
We
is
have to.
going to be necessary in any year
To
in
maintain.
order to continue to have our fund balance reserve
not have to
be at an
complete the rainy
appropriate
day fund.
percentage. Or otherwise, it would just erode by attrition. You know that, but I'm pointing out something for public consumption. So there's the countervailing point to at least a part of what you're making an observation to.
Assume that you've got a 2% increase on a $93 million budget, that, you've got to get, what?
180.
100, it's, yeah. So you've got to 8% of that, too, is $160,000 to $200,000 a year.
And as we heard tonight, there was a freeze on spending
Spending.
until we knew where we
It
were.
wasn't like it was projected that way throughout the entire year. We kind of waited to see where we were before we went ahead and spent. We're still ending up with a surplus, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that surplus might need to be, we don't know, it might have to be used next
Right. I mean,
the
next
freeze in
year.
spending
We don't know,
shouldn't come as
it's all
surprise
based on
to anybody.
state.
This train's been rolling down the track a
Yes.
long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
you
gaining
think-
speed, so, let's not forget that.
right.
Anything else?
Motion to- sorry.
I'm sure there's a second.
Motion to-
I will entertain a motion to adjourn. I got it. And a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? I didn't think there would be. Who wants copies of these? Did you get a copy of these?
I don't know,
got
where- I
those?
think I did keep one.